everyone. Welcome to this episode of Pathways to Perform. We hope these real stories from real people resonate to help guide you on the path to perform at your best in any field. Today, we have a very special treat. We have tremendous guests that have kind of touched the aspect of every part of the performing arts industry. They have tackled Broadway, off-Broadway, the West End, solo recording albums, voiceovers, you name it, they have done it. I think the coolest part for me and what is most important is that these two are the two most humble, kind, and generous people I've ever met. And in addition to that, they happen to be best friends. So today, please welcome Leo Ash Evans and Telly Leung. Yay! I'm so glad you're here.
Yay!
Thank you.
We are
Yay!
too. Oh my God, Kiesha, that was so nice to hear all that together. I love that.
Well, it's just interesting. Collectively, you have just done the thing. Individually, you've done it. Collectively, you've done it. But I think what a lot of people don't know is that in your free time, you dedicate service in education and really helping young hopefuls reach their dreams. And that's like another aspect that we'll get to, but you give back. You're already giving back, but it's part of your makeup. It's who you are as human beings. You're wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Kiesha.
Thank
We do.
you.
I think part of that is, you know, we met at school. So I think, you know, Leo and I are very conscious of the fact that we would not be where we are today without amazing teachers that have come along the way and shaped us and helped us and encouraged us and saw something in us before we even saw it in ourselves sometimes. So I think so much of our friendship is about education that I think it's natural that we both have sort of done that too.
Yeah. We're so grateful that it started at Carnegie Mellon, and that foundation that was laid then, it's always there for all of this. We love being at school. Not everybody goes to school and wants to really be in school, but we love being in school. You know, so learning we love it.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know that I actually taught you both in the jazz dance class, right?
It was the best class.
Anytime if I hear throb, come on, are you kidding me? I'm immediately sent back. Are you kidding?
That makes me so happy. But I mean, I remember walking into that classroom and the energy, the excitement, the leaning in, the eagerness. It was all genuine.
We were eager.
You were so eager, and I walk in and I had to be ready. I mean, I should be outside in the hall doing jumping jacks. I'm like, get ready for this. But that to me, you have a genuine love for education. You want to learn. And I think that's so important in any aspect of any industry. So, I mean, just to kind of kick off our conversation, I would love to know how you got started, right? So did you wake up one day and realize that you were bestowed this gift of performance? Or how did you come about the realization that this was your calling? Whoever wants to go first.
Take it, Tel. You want me to go?
Oh, well, you go. Why don't you go? Yeah.
I don't remember ever feeling like it was a calling. I just always remembered feeling like it was so much fun to do as a kid. So, I mean, I do remember like fourth grade, there was this thing called Kids on Broadway, which was like a little troupe that would get together. Well, Kiesha, you probably know the North Star Kids.
Remember
the North? Yeah, they don't exist anymore. But like that kicked it off for me. And I just remember thinking, this is so much fun and you can make money doing this. So I just thought, yeah. And then anytime people would say like, well, you don't make a lot of money in this business, I just thought, but you do make money. Like, so it didn't matter to me that it wasn't this big dollar sign. The idea was that you can make money doing this, and this just feels like fun. So then I think because of the joy that it brought, I never wanted to lose that joy. And then it just kept growing for me as my career and my education started and career and everything. I mean, I dropped everything else, the soccer, the swimming, I pretty quickly made it my life. I was that nerd, that music theater nerd that only listened to musical theater. I only, so I just kept feeding it more and more. And it evolves, but there's still just the love. I love it. I love to hustle. I love all of the things about the job that people don't like. I work through it, I guess.
That's great. And Telly, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like I found theater by accident in a lot of ways because I went to a math and science high school in New York City, and I think my path, or the path that that I thought my parents wanted for me, and I thought I wanted for myself was probably go to this math and science high school, go to Harvard or MIT, graduate, become a doctor and engineer, and and do something practical with your life. And what ended up happening was I started doing theater after school just for fun. It was just sort of where I found my tribe. It was sort of where I found a sense of belonging. The theater was the only place that I felt like welcomed everybody. There was you didn't have to be a performer to be involved in the theater. You could paint sets. You could be in the band. You could, if you couldn't sing, you could be a dancer in the show. Like it was one of these places that was all inclusive. And so I quickly sort of found I guess the calling was the company that I was keeping. I also think that I grew up as an only kid. So being an only child, I had a very active imagination, imaginary friends, and I always longed for brothers and sisters and playmates. So when you do theater, it's automatic brothers, sisters, automatic family, automatic playmates.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't ever think of it a lot with, I guess it's the positive mindset. So it's like that once you're in a format of, what makes you happy. What's that song? If it makes you happy, it can't be that bad. Sheryl Crow. It's like that was kind of what I always felt in the beginning, going, well, if this is making me happy, just keep going. And then it just kept growing, and now we're old enough to look back. I mean, for a long time when people would say, oh, how did it was hard for me because it still felt so recent. Now I feel like, oh yeah, that was a long time ago when this began,
And so let's kind of talk about that journey, right? I think a lot of people think the journey is clear cut. I'm going to get from A to B and I'm just going to make it and I'm going to land that Broadway show. And Leo, your face, it's so true. Right. And that's not the case. And so why don't you tell us a shortened, of course, version of your journey.
Well, so, this is interesting because this is where Telly and I really were opposite in our journeys, because Telly had an amazing gift right away of booking a Broadway show. He actually had it going into New York City. He knew it right away. For me, it took years. I thought I had a show right away. It was Barry Manilow's Harmony, which is still such a haunted show that can't have their start. But the point is that like I thought it would happen relatively quickly. I was working my butt off. Why wouldn't it? I wasn't afraid of the hustle and I would bust my butt to auditions. But my trajectory took me into a lot of leading roles in the beginning of my career, which I loved. And I just kept doing that regionally. You mentioned the West End. I toured. And then it happened for me a lot later, not until 2012. And I graduated in 2002.
I will never forget when it happened for you. I feel like social media blew up.
Yeah, I know. And I remember going, it happened, guys. It happened. Well, when I got the call from my agents, Leo, you booked Jesus Christ Superstar, I started to laugh. And they couldn't believe it. They're like, usually people's debuts, they don't start to laugh. And I said, you just have to understand, I'm laughing because I knew it would happen, but I'm laughing at how long it took.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what
in that time, Leo.
Yeah.
In that time, you were, you got to lead a show and you got to lead 42nd Street in Moscow. You got to lead a show in the West End. I mean, so it wasn't like, it took a long time, but it really was a circuitous, you had all of these amazing, fulfilling experiences. One of my favorite best friend memories is the day Rent closed. I was supposed to do Godspell. That production of Godspell that was supposed to happen in 2008 didn't happen. Very much like the Harmony story where, the posters were up on the theater and all of a sudden they said, by the way, the financial crash has caused your show to not happen. So that Broadway show that you thought you were going to be doing, you're not going to be doing next year. Thank God the folks at Rent let me rescind my notice. I had actually put in my notice already to leave Rent to go start Godspell. They said, we feel really bad. There were two people in my company that were supposed to do Godspell and they said, if you want, we will tear up this letter and you can stay to the end of the run. And I said, yes. And then I went on tour with them. But there was this period of time where I was like, hey, my Broadway show that was supposed to happen didn't happen. And there are cheap tickets to Athens. I'm going to fly to Athens and see my best friend Leo Ash Evans play Riff in West Side Story in Athens, Greece. And I flew to Greece and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's having this amazing world.
Yeah, exactly.
He's touring the world doing these great shows, not on Broadway, but in Athens and in London,
Yep. No, I know. I say that to students all the time that I work with now, like get the international experience when you can. And younger is easier because you don't have your commitments and responsibilities yet here. the only part about that I wish I had been a little bit wiser to, I was still young. I was now I want to do it again in a different way. But yeah, no, our paths, yeah, you just, again, it's that whole thing of you keep taking one step in front of the other. And, I made a lot of unpopular choices in the beginning. Like I remember when I came back from playing Billy Lawler, there was an opportunity to be on the tour to go into the ensemble to cover Billy. And I was like, why would I do that? I just played Billy. I'm not going on the tour. And I remember my agents at the time, they said, but Leo, that'll be your first national tour. And I said, yeah, I know, but there'll be another national tour. Like, it doesn't need to be this. It felt right to just own your path. And that you got to keep making it. I mean, Telly and I, we make it up as we go. I mean, we're, and that's scary for artists. They want to follow like a mold and like a structure. And there's stuff you can do, but you got to keep making it up as you go along.
Well, and not losing the joy.
And even
right.
Yeah. That's circling back to
like I did get a Broadway show. I mean, I did get a Broadway show right out of school, but that show opened and closed in 4 months. So for me, I was I had a great job for 4 months and a Broadway debut, which was incredible. But then 4 months later, I was at the same auditions with all of my friends who had graduated with me for the next show, for what, you know what I mean? So we are constantly living in ambiguity and figuring it out moment to moment.
Yep. I mean, and what better year than this now in a universal global pandemic to learn, you got to figure it out as you go. It's to some, I mean, I don't want to speak for Telly, but I think we're grateful that because we set the foundation over all these past years, 20 years, then for a terrible tragedy like a pandemic, we weren't like out for the count. We were able to still motivate ourselves because you set, you keep at it. You have your structure.
Well, and how did you guys stay motivated then? I mean, everything kind of stopped. It wasn't a gradual, it's coming, prepare. There was no preparation. No. The world stopped. Like we hit a button, stop. Yeah. So how did you get through this? What was part of your process?
Yeah. You want to go, Tell?
I think that people react to this pandemic differently. And no judgments. Everybody has their own process of how to deal with this unknown thing we're all dealing with in 2020. So for some folks, they really needed that time to be introspective. They left the city. They got their house in a cabin in the woods somewhere. They really took the time for themselves to like work on themselves, work on figuring out what their priorities were, having perspective on the world. I'm sort of the opposite. I get more active, and I like to like work through it, this is hard. Great. Well, it's not going to stop being hard. My philosophy is I can escape to the woods, surely, but when I come back, it's still going to be hard. So I think I should probably just take the time and figure this out piece by piece and break it apart, moment by moment, day by day, what the challenge is for today, you know? So of course it's difficult for people like Leo and I. We like to plan. We like to have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. We have goals. We're goal oriented. And I think what happened this year was we went, we have to really change those plans and really look at success as a daily moment to moment thing. Like, what can I accomplish today that I can count as a win? What can I accomplish in the next hour? Because it's constantly changing. So I don't know. For me, I sort of reacted the opposite way. I probably got too ambitious as far as like taking on projects and trying to stay active and motivated. To my detriment, I do that. That's something that I admit I do. I bite off more than I can chew, but it was also my way of coping too.
Right. Telly pivots very well. He was pivoting. I know that's like the theme word for this year.
The pandemic pivot.
Well, it's like all of he's so electronically savvy, and like you have to be now in this year to compete with all of these platforms on Zoom. And Telly knows how much I hate Zoom. I mean, I love it for what it is, of course, and what it's providing. But like sometimes I'm like, I can't be on Zoom. Yeah. I mean, I think we utilized our professional skill sets well in this pandemic because we're always actively working at them anyway before this, and then you're challenged. So yeah, I wanted to work through pain. I wanted to work through fear. There's nothing I hate more than like sitting or wallowing in a problem. I preach that to people. You got to work through it. But you know, Telly and I had our fair share of talks and walks in the park, and I mean, we were going through it too. So I mean, I think again, this is where it's like, thank God for your friends. I mean, this is where I'm so grateful. And I'm single. So as someone single, like, it was really, I leaned on Telly a lot because, you know, it's not like I'm coming home to somebody. So I mean, it was personally taxing on me. Yes. I've never been afraid professionally with the pandemic. I just know we're going to work through this. Telly and I have been in New York this entire time. We've never left this. I mean, like, we were at Fire Island one week. That was nice. That was a nice little getaway with our friends. Other than that, we've been in New York City this entire pandemic. So where other people needed to leave, I never thought that as an option. In fact, this is home for me. So if I left it, that would create more anxiety if I went to the cabin in the woods. I would actually get more. I mean, my parents wanted me to come to Jacksonville, and I thought, well, I could do a visit, but then I'm not, like, they wanted me to do like a 2-month. And I'm like, no, that'll make me crazy. So yeah, I think in a way I had to keep working too, or else then I would have gotten more sad and depressed and scared.
Well, and it sounds like the recurring theme is really perseverance and positivity.
Yeah.
And so that is a testament to who you are, right, as people. And in this industry where there's just so much kind of rejection, right? And I don't know if the word rejection, but you just don't fit. There's a moment where you just get kind of declined, or again, the word rejected, but you're not cast in a show, or you're not told yes, you're told no. I hear about people's bios, right? And I see these resumes and they're glorious. Nobody talks about the book of no. Right? The 4,000 no's.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about perseverance and in the business besides COVID and pushing through. How did you persevere after being told no so many times?
Well, this is going to sound like a cliche answer, but I never said no to myself. I just,
yes, I love that.
I think that's the problem, is that if you say, you know, I don't think I'm good enough for this, or, you know what, I don't think I'm the best one for this. You know who else? There are 5 other guys, Leo, that are like you that could do it better. I always thought that I was the best one for the role, or so I believed it. I think once you start to go down that path of like, well, those numbers aren't likely. It's like the amount of people Telly and I, you know, that could have had our spots at Carnegie Mellon, but we got them. You know, it's all of it, whether it's school, whether it's Broadway, a big lead role, you know, you have to believe that it can be you.
That's amazing. That's some
I had a wonderful manager who's no longer with us. Her name is Joan Sittenfield, but she passed away several years ago, but she is old school Hollywood. You know, she cast Taxi back in the day. That's how long she's been in the business.
Wow.
So she is a spitfire, and Leo's met her. She's
Yeah.
sort of an incredible woman. Yeah. But she always said, listen, it's, you know, when you walk into that room to do an audition, first of all, auditioning is your job. That is your job. When you get the job, that's almost the icing on the cake, that you get to like actually enjoy playing a role and all of that. But your job is to audition. Yeah. Your job is to deliver a performance every time you walk in and give that 5-minute audition. And in that 5 minutes, it is your job to solve somebody's problem behind the table. So you walk in with the attitude of, hey, give me 5 minutes. I will prove to you how I can solve your problem, in that you need an actor in this 5 minutes. Whether or not they choose you, because there's thousands of people that will probably be auditioning for the same part, is out of your hands. You can only really control the 5 minutes that you're in the room, how prepared you are, what mindset you're in, you know, all of that stuff. You can only really do that. And then you have to walk away and move on to the next, because again, your job is to audition. It is your job to constantly put yourself on that line and audition and get no a lot. That's just part of the job.
And still celebrate when it's no. That's hard.
Right.
But you have to, if you only look at the booking as the accomplishment and not the path to getting there, it's just because we're told no so often, you can't get ahead. You have to keep celebrating it. I mean, Telly and I mean, in the beginning, we talked all in those first 4 or 5 years of auditioning. We always knew about each other's auditions. We don't as much because it's just we're so many years into it that we've been doing. But in the beginning, when it was so new and fresh for us, we were always checking in with each other. So that was the celebration too, even if we didn't book it. I mean, I could think of Telly's gigs that he didn't book. I could think of a lot of them because what Telly shared with me on the phone, and I'm like, all right, but that's a win. If you don't book it, it's still a win. You know.
And
well, Joan always said banking. You know, you'd be banking it for the next one because you're auditioning for this team of people behind the table, and it's only going to go to one actor. But if you go in and really impress those people in that 5 minutes, you're banking it for the next job.
Yeah.
You're banking it for the next time they see you, and eventually, after they've seen you for the 10th time, they're going to go, God, we got to write a part for that kid because he's stellar. The 10 times he's come in, we can't put him. Now I want to put him in a show because he's so good. Yeah. You know, so that's it requires some perspective, which now that Leo and I are older, we have, I think, about the long game. Yeah. Because we've been in the game for so long. So, but when you're young, you don't see that. No. You know, every audition is life or death, I think.
And you can't see statistics. You can't see the numbers. You can't see the percentages of working actors versus not, or how many people are in the union versus, you know, working in the union versus not. I mean, in the beginning, you just throw the spaghetti, see what sticks. You just got to keep at it.
It's so interesting. This, a dear friend of mine auditioned for Jersey Boys 7 times. She called me on the 7th time. It's like, I've been in there 7 times, and of course just had to kind of rant about the frustration. If they wanted me, they would have picked me. And I'm putting my makeup on, listening to her rant, and I said, just go. Today could be the day.
Yeah.
Same outfit, same material, but because she showed up for 7 auditions over 3 years, they finally gave her the part. Wow. And it took that amount of time just to kind of, it was her time. And so let's talk a little bit about mindset, right? What is that mindset that makes you keep going? What are some of those values that kind of speak to you in the back of your mind always to keep you moving forward? You mentioned mindset. And so I think that is so important to maintain that positive outlook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like the healthy ego too. You've got to have that healthy little bit of, well, I didn't book it before. That's okay. You know, you mourn it, but there's still that part of you that believes that you will book it the next time. Or that whole investment banking that Telly was talking about. It's like the inner part of you has to know that the business works that way. So if you keep at it, you know, it can be your turn. You know, you can have your day. I remember, I'm blanking on his last name right now, but when I booked the MC in Cabaret, that's still probably my favorite role I've played in any show. And I remember I had auditioned for it in different productions 2 or 3 times and didn't book it. And then when I did book it, the monitor he said, Leo, today was your day. And I'll never forget that. And because he knew it went really well, and I hadn't booked it, but he said, today's your day. And I always remembered that, thinking like, a lot of days it's not your day, but like, it's so great when it is. And you just remember that feeling. So for all of the next gigs that it's still not your day and you don't book, you know, then you get back to, oh, it's my day again. It's the best feeling. So that keeps me doing it. Aside from the love of it, it also keeps me doing it because that is like a thrill and a rush in itself.
I also think about all the jobs I didn't get sometimes, but then now that I have a little perspective on it, I look back and go, but if I did get that job that I really wanted, these other things wouldn't have happened. So because I didn't get that job, it made me hustle for this other job, which led to that thing, which led to that opportunity. So I think it's all supposed to work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah.
And you can only give, yes, of course, when you're in that room for 5 minutes, give that 5 minutes its worth and its weight. But then when it's done, you have to let it go, because tomorrow's a new day, and that's 24 more hours of possibility that can come, you know, good or bad. Like, it's a new day, and there's new things that are happening, and new things you didn't even think about that could be happening. So that sort of keeps me going, you know, knowing that, well, tomorrow's a new day. Even when I have a bad show the night before, I felt like, that was a crap show I just did. You know, I cracked on that note, I dropped that line, whatever. I go, but you know what? It's over. I can't really fix that. Tomorrow's a new day. I can just look forward to the possibility of doing better tomorrow, you know?
Yeah.
That's great. And so, you know, through all kinds of challenges that you face and obstacles, or again, that word rejection, How did you get through? Was there any one profound moment or one memory that kind of stays with you, that defining factor that said, you know what, I'm going to keep going, and this just validated everything that I want to do with my life? It may have been early on. It might have been in the middle of the process.
I'm trying to think if there was like.
I'm just gonna say this. Thank God for friends and happy hours and margaritas.
I love
because
that.
sometimes that's what you need.
That's
When
right.
you have a bad audition, sometimes you go, I had a terrible audition.
Yeah.
Leo, come meet me at this happy hour on 9th Avenue.
Yeah,
We're just gonna have a drink.
Yeah.
And then forget. I mean, the countless amount of times we've done that. You just have to like go, ugh, and then have a friend, you know, like Leo, pick you back up again and go, all right, that wasn't great, but that's okay. You know, tomorrow's a new day. Cheers. On to the next, you know.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, Telly brought up Riff in West Side Story. Telly was so there for me when I didn't book Riff on Broadway. And I had gone through all of the stages and it looked like everything made sense. And when I met Arthur Lawrence, he was not into the fact that I knew the role, I had played the role. Everybody else loved it. Joey McNeely loved it. His assistant, David Saint, loved it. But when I got to Arthur, he made a comment to me like, well, you're ready for opening night. Like some backhanded, you know, it was like
Wow.
it was a dig. And I knew as soon as he said it, I was like, oh, I'm out. This is not my turn. And I remember Telly said, Leo, it would make sense that you would get it, but it doesn't work. He reminded me of the way show business works. And it doesn't work that way in a logical way. I started to go logical. And I needed that reminder, like it doesn't all logically make sense all the time that you played it here, and now you're going to do it there. Like it just doesn't work that way. And, you know, Telly really pulled me off of that ledge because I was mad. I was so hurt. I was like, why did he say that to me? Why did he do that? Why did he have to, you give me, I'll improvise. I'm not stuck in my ways, but then I also remembered thinking I have to own, I got to own my work, and I did. But boy, talk about a happy hour. I don't remember where we were for that one specifically, but I do remember Telly talking me off the ledge with that one. Yeah.
So you're talking a lot about friend support.
There was lots of booze.
Friend support, right? Okay. Friend support and booze and margaritas and happy hours. What do you do to stay human? I mean, you have profound careers. I hope that in this time of reflection and pause, that you can both recognize what you've accomplished and simultaneously given back. It's not like it was an epiphany, like, oh, we should use this time to give back. You were already doing all of that. But through all of this and through playing these characters, taking on a different kind of persona, how do Telly and how do Leo stay human? Because we lose sight of that as artists so very often. But I'm hearing that you don't, that you anchor yourselves into friendship and life.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tel.
Well, gosh, we've known each other since 1998.
Yeah.
So, you know, if there is no better grounding person for me than Leo, who's seen me at my best, at my worst, who's gone through huge life milestones with me, right? And so it is, having that person in your life is very anchoring. You know, you can be, you know, and I also have to, you know, give my husband too, like a credit for that as well. Like somebody that anchors you at home. You know, you can be a Broadway star at your theater, come home, and it's your turn to take out the trash. Do you know what I mean? Like there's perspective there, you know, when you're also married to somebody and they don't care that 1,700 people just gave you a standing ovation. They don't care. You know?
Don't care.
I don't care. But you know what I mean? But really, like it really is friendships and relationships outside of the business that I think are so helpful, you know, to sort of stay anchored and grounded.
Yeah. When we were at college, Jordan Thaler, casting director at the Public, he did a great masterclass with us where I remember it so well. I share this with my students all the time now, where he said, hey guys, make sure when you get to New York City, you figure out something you like to do that isn't theater, that isn't just theater. And I remember all of us were like, we're musical theater majors from Carnegie Mellon. We're ready to go. Like, you know, we weren't listening to that, like that we needed to find something out. And I remember on one of my really bad audition days when I didn't get called back, I thought I was awful. I thought of Jordan's words and I started to pick up my plant hobby. I always have loved plants. I have a green thumb. My parents are big gardeners. And that started to really be a nice place to land when it wasn't bad theater. So when you ask Kiesha about what do I do to stay grounded, there's the friendships for sure, but there's also the stuff that I love in life that isn't theater. That is definitely, like, I love nature, I love plants, I'm in Central Park a lot. Central Park saved me with this pandemic. I was there doing walks 2-3 times a day in the worst months. But yeah, I think that's also how you persevere, is you got to find that thing that allows you to release, whether that's activity, you know, whatever in your life. Because I'll share another little anecdote that's great. When I worked with Priscilla Lopez on Matthew Lopez's premiere play Somewhere, this was at the Old Globe, at the end of the first week, we were all having a glass of wine, and she said something along the lines of, I don't remember it verbatim, but she said, just remember, guys, show business never gives back everything you've put in. It's never going to love you. All the hours and blood, sweat, and she was saying, in your good months and your good year, you win a Tony Award. I mean, chorus line, one of our greatest musical, most successful musical. She's like, but then at the end of the day, it never gives back everything you've put in. So it's like, it was a chilling moment, but I got it. So I think I didn't get it in my 20s as much. I was like in a full blown relationship with theater. But now I love my jobs, but like, I do see it as a job. I do recognize that there's other things in life. Like, I never used to travel on my own. I did that 3-4 years ago, where I went to Barcelona. These are things that I was not treating myself to do. And now I value that in a way that I didn't when I was younger. So sometimes I say, when you're younger, go after it hard, because that is partly why I think successful today, is because I was so committed. But then I also know what keeps me sane through all of this is the outlets that are not theater too.
Well, and it's like you said earlier, just traveling a little bit and being on tour, but doing it in your 20s and doing it in your 30s, you certainly have a different perspective and appreciation for it.
Yes.
You know? And so
I would have never taken a trip in my 20s to Barcelona. I would have been like, but what? I'm going to miss auditions. What am I going to do? Book out with my agents? They could drop me. That was my mindset in my 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think that, you know, if I didn't hear back from my agents, I would make up some story in my head that, oh no, they're mad at me. I mean, that's how like crazy committed I was. Part of me thinks of that as like focus and commitment. And then also part of it is like a neuroses too, which doesn't always help you, but you know.
Well, and so, yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's part of the business though, right? Again, that noise in the back of your head, whether it's positive or negative, but it's constant battle of trying to stay balanced, because it's noise and it's you talking to yourself. You can do it. And then this other noise behind you, but can you? And why didn't I get the call? And what if they reject me? The list is endless. Yeah. So how do you stay inspired? I mean, how do you stay motivated and inspired to keep going?
It's interesting because I guess I'll just know if it never feels like work to me. I mean, it is. I will tell you, I've had a long day. I'm exhausted. Where's that drink? I mean, there's no question, like, boy, liquor takes on a whole other taste at the end of a hard, long work day. Remember in your 20s when it was just like a social thing? And then you're like, I need a drink. But it's fascinating to me.
And then the pandemic.
And the pandemic, yeah. But I don't know. What keeps me inspired, I guess, is just, I love the collaboration of theater. It never feels like I'm by myself, you know? So I love that. And I just love being with others. I think if I ever really feel like I'm not having fun, then I wouldn't do it. And then I would lose the inspiration. And then, you know, I guess the other thing I'd say to that, community. Sorry, go ahead. You go.
Oh, well, I was going to say the community keeps us inspired. And I know Leo and I talk about this a lot, that at Carnegie, when we were in college, there's a healthy dose of competition that isn't like a vicious, like, I have to be better than you. But when somebody in your class is excelling at something and has a breakthrough, you of course celebrate that person, but it also inspires you to go, I need to also work on my process. There's something contagious about that sort of healthy competition that I think we developed in college. And I sort of have that now with my theater community, now with the wider community, now that there's more people in our community, for Leo and I, that we look at the people around us and go, gosh, that's amazing what so-and-so is doing. Yeah. So-and-so is doing that right now. That's awesome. That's so motivating for me now to sort of look at what's on my plate. Can I add some of that energy and motivation to what it is that I'm doing? You know, it's contagious.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
I was
No.
just going to say, a lot of people do. They look at other people's careers and they compare and they get angry or negative, the bitterness, the jadedness. I mean, and it's hard. Like it's hard when you meet people in business, in show business, that are directors, casting directors, agents, managers, that are negative or snarky, or like that's not the way Telly and I roll. So that's so you do have to surround yourself with other people with that mindset, and it's so true. Like I look at people, that I've always like looked up to Christian Borle's career, because he's another Carnegie Mellon grad. He and we're similar in a lot of ways in the kinds of roles we would book, or that I have booked after he booked. And it's like you look up to careers as opposed to being competitive and angry. There's a lot of people that get angry in this business. Like, I can't believe she booked that. Why did he get it again? It doesn't breed any kind of good mojo,
I love that you celebrate other people's success.
Yeah,
you have to. Yeah, Telly, go ahead.
There's this idea that like there's a limited, finite amount of success, and that if somebody else achieves that success, that there's nothing left. There's nothing left of the success pie for me now, because that person has taken all the, and that's just not true. Actually, like I think we've all been conditioned to feel that way sometimes, but that's not the case. There is enough love to go around for everyone. Do you mean like, so and also success looks different to everyone, that your success and how you define it is it's a different subjective definition for every single person.
Yeah, agreed.
That is the best segue ever, because my next question is, how do you define success? What is success to you? I mean, how do you define success? Because so many people, like you said, define it in a different way. But for you individually, what is success?
I'd say it's about evolving. You have to, I think from myself, I'm most proud of my success when I'm able to keep evolving. So it's not about being stagnant or stale or not taking like the easy way out. It's like, it's working through, all of the different twists and turns along the way. And if you keep doing it and navigating, you get back up, all of that is success. So it's never one job, one role, $1 It's never, it's the collective whole and the way you play the game. I think that's what it is. That to me is how that defines success. That whole thing about if you were at Heaven's Gate and you heard, what would you want to hear them say? I would love that people, if they said that I played the game, I was successful because I was a good person along the way. That would mean a lot to me, that people saw my success based on like my core of who I am. So it's the way I play the game is what defines success.
I love that.
Yeah, I think Leo's totally right. It's an evolution, right? So in my, when I was at Carnegie Mellon, I'd be like, success would be, being on a Broadway show and winning a Tony Award. But then as I got older and like I sort of, in my 20s, I was like, oh, success is like, this is sort of great. I get to call myself a professional actor. I make money doing this. I have, health insurance, and I'm able to pay my rent and my bills doing this thing that I love. That's success. And then like, as I got even older, success was like, success is, I have a balanced life, that here's career, and it's not completely taking over my life. I'm still able to have room to have a personal life and some sort of stability to be able to then like once in a while take a vacation, or once in a while enjoy those things that, enjoy the things that I've worked so hard to earn. You know what I mean? So I think success is different. And now, of course, 2020, my definition of success has completely changed, because honestly, success is I'm alive and I'm breathing today. Like, that's success, because there are a lot of people in this world that can't say that right now. So like for me, like the perspective of success has changed radically this year. And you have to count those wins. You have to count them, because otherwise you would spiral into the negativity and the inability to get out of that spiral of negativity to then do anything with your day. So count your wins for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. And the gratefulness for what you have as you're going through the process. You have to keep that in mind. Yeah.
Well, it's like a deep, sincere appreciation for living in the moment and being present. And I feel like we're always chasing something in this industry. right? I want, like you said, Telly, I want that Tony Award. That's how you're programmed. That defines success, the constant chase of something. And it's just bizarre how it can manipulate your mind into thinking that success might be something other than what it really is.
Another one of my loves, I love tennis. I don't really love playing it so much, but I love watching it. There's a book called The Inner Game of Tennis. My friend Stephanie Fitro got this for me. And you literally can take out the word tennis and put acting into the paragraph and it completely fits. Because tennis players have a constant conversation going on in their mind. They're not on the court with a team of players. It's not football, it's not soccer, baseball, where you're a team. It's just like actors. When we book the job, we're in a company and we're doing a show together. But when you're in that audition room, it's just you. So you have this constant voice, that the good and the evil, the positive and the negative, you know, in your voice, and you have to keep cheerleading yourself. You have to cheerlead a big part of you. That's not your agent. That's not your parents. It's not your best friend. I mean, we did that for each other, but you have to be doing it to yourself because you're you're alone with your thoughts at the end of the night. I mean, what are you gonna, so it's that voice, that's a big part of being successful too. How do you shut that off? How do you tame that voice? It's because it can take over.
So how do you stay confident? I mean, I think a lot of young people today, young performers, don't have confidence. It's they feel that they're fearful of judgment. They don't want to upset anyone in the room. They don't want someone to be jealous or be, again, oh, my friend got that job and I got that she got cast and why didn't I? They're fearful of that kind of conversation and judgment. So how important is it to be confident but not egotistical? I feel like it's a little bit of a different thing, but how important is confidence?
Yeah, go ahead, Tal, take it.
I think it's important to recognize that when you're working with young actors, and Kiesha and I, we've both worked with the Jimmy Awards kids, so they're right at that high school age where fitting in is everything in high school. And then you go to college and you're in some training program or conservatory program. There's politics that are involved in that as well. And so then you graduate and you either go to New York or Chicago or LA and you start your professional career after that process. And then your mind is still trained, because it's been 8 years of school between high school and college, to still try to fit in or do the right thing. When honestly, when you're an individual and you're an adult trying to make your way as an artist, you have to remember that your individualism and what made you special and individual and apart from everyone else is your bankable quality. That is what will give you your confidence. You can't mess up being you. You can't mess up being authentically you, right? There's nobody telling you anymore that that's wrong. You can't do that. That's not good. You know what I mean? But you've spent 8 years between high school and college just trying to fit in or trying to do the right thing or try to fit into some mold. All of a sudden now you're thrust into your 20s and you're asked to own your adultness and who are you? And it's a lot of, you have to sort of be okay with finding yourself and being okay with being authentic. But but it doesn't come naturally because you've spent 8 years not doing that.
Yeah. The other thing that I've seen over the years in a little bit of a negative, I would say for teenagers, because as Kiesha, I work with a lot of teenagers to get into college, is that I do sometimes see more and more people not wanting to do the work to getting there. And there's either the entitlement, or sometimes I feel for them because, the three of us did not grow up with the internet and YouTube, and they are so used to getting things with clicking buttons. But if you really want to be the best singer, actor, dancer, it's not clicking buttons. It's not watching videos. I mean, great for inspiration for a moment, but that's the one thing that I do think when you do the work, you're building your confidence. It's like the more you do it, it's also like jobs too. The more you audition, the better you keep getting at it. Every single time you're doing it, you're getting better. That should result then in a confidence as you're doing it, but not what you were saying, Kiesha, with ego, not entitlement, not a cockiness, but like that healthy confidence. I think it happens when you've done the work. I mean, let me just rave about Telly for a minute. He did this project, The Nice List. This Nice List, I mean, I had an idea of what it was based on conversations he told me, but then I got to be a part of it because he needed some help with a reader, and I got to be, I needed
a lot of help.
Oh my God. I mean, Kiesha, but the thing that it was just so, he was confident that he could get to a place where this result could be great. as he was doing it, like I got to have this back seat view, and I could see him doing all of the work. But as he was doing it, he was stressed and he'd get upset. But he knew in the back of his mind, this can be good.
That's that noise.
He wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, Telly that would have been a waste of his time if he thought this isn't really, this might not really be good. He always thought that it could be good. So he was confident going through the blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I have never seen him do. I mean, he was prop master, producer. He was everything. I mean, it was so cool to see. But it all came from the belief. He was confident that he could do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
And so just some of these values that we've talked about today, what's some advice that you have for people that are kind of, and it can be out of the industry. I feel a lot of these themes cross over to anyone chasing any dream. And so we're talking about being human. We're talking about work ethic. We're talking about confidence. What's some advice you have for anyone chasing the thing, that thing they want? What's some advice that you have for them?
I would say, you mean like at the very beginning of their career?
I think even for someone transitioning, right? I think a lot of people are shifting right now and kind of tired of what they've done.
Yeah.
And I've even heard, I was literally buying these headphones in the store, and one of the kids, he's about, I'd say close to 30, and he said, "Oh, what's this for, a podcast or something?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm actually stepping out of my comfort zone and I'm going to do what I do, which I love talking to people."
Right.
He said, "Oh, I want to shift and start going into acting. I know it's my natural calling. I never did it. My parents wouldn't let me." And I sat there and looked at him and I said, "Dude, go get it." I'm like, this is where you take class. This is where you start. Do the thing. So where some people are leaving our industry, some people are like, you know what? I might not be here tomorrow. Let's do the thing. So I don't know that it's necessarily industry or a young person, but I think people are just needing a little bit of guidance right now, or a reminder,
Well, yeah. And I do think that it's a reflecting kind of transparent time, that if this makes you, that's what's so beautiful about the pandemic in a silver lining kind of way, is that it does reflect maybe some true colors. If you were thinking about making a change, that does it motivate you to do it. But I think the people that really love it, they're doing it.
Yes.
They're finding a way to do it in a modified way. I mean, like I said earlier, I don't like doing Zoom dance classes, and I don't like doing a Zoom, but I did one. I took one myself as a dancer. I did a voiceover class that I got better at. I didn't want to be doing it here. I wanted to be at Pearl Studios, but it's like you find a way, so I think and then if it did take someone away from the business because they already kind of had one foot in, one foot out, it's an interesting, I mean, when a pandemic, I can't believe there's no rule book for this thing. But I do think that for the people who really want to do it, the advice is that you find a way. What's that great line in Jurassic Park? Oh, I know what it is. When the dinosaurs have babies and they're like, how did this happen? They're both the same gender. And what's his face says, nature finds a way.
I love it.
Nature finds. Well, I feel like you find a way as an artist, find a way. It can't be Broadway or Oscar or those are all possibilities, but you find a way to do it.
My big piece of advice, and I actually think the next generation is actually quite good at this, and I'm very hopeful about this, is that never underestimate the power of empathy in whatever situation you're in. Yeah. That's something that is so important to you might not be so important to somebody else.
Yeah.
Something that you feel is not, something that you can't see or you can't understand, and that you don't think is significant, could be something very significant to somebody else that's walking in different shoes. So just take a minute. Just take a minute and try. You're never gonna actually. We are actors. It is our job to attempt to walk and to see the truth through other people's eyes. It is our job to take ourselves out of ourselves and walk in somebody else's shoes for the night, whatever character we're playing for the night. It is our job. We will never 100% get there to be that person, but it's the attempt that I think that counts, and the attempt to try to be empathetic and try to see the world through somebody else's eyes actually will take you very far. Mm-hmm. And it'll attract the right the kind of people that you want to attract into your life, the kind of collaborators, the kind of fellow artists, friends that you will want. So just take a minute to do that. It's easy to forget to do that sometimes because we're so wrapped up in our own world.
Yep.
But just take a minute.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We all need to do that right now. I really appreciate that. Well, I can't thank you enough. I hope to have you back. I hope you come back. I want to have more conversations.
This is fun. This is so great.
We love sharing space with you. Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. I mean,
you have so much to offer, and you're humans and you're real. And I feel you're so giving. And so you're an inspiration to so many. I adore you. I have so much love and respect for you. It's been like that from day one, and I will always be here for you. You know this.
No.
Always.
We love you. We love you, Keisha.
I know. Can't wait to get
back. Since jazz class. Since across the floor.
We always are going to have Janet Jackson throb.
Always. I was obsessed with that album. Right. I was obsessed with that album. I tell my students all the time.
That was my first concert ever.
Oh, I love that.
Janet. That concert was my first concert.
But Keisha, think of your class. I think that's why we connect, because you find the similar people. That was a no bullshit class, if I can say that. It's hard, but it was fun. You were having fun teaching. You could tell that I was like, that's I think why Telly and I,
it's the same thing.
It was contagious.
It's contagious.
Yeah, your love of it was so contagious.
Oh, you're so sweet. I just think it's so simple for me. If I'm not having fun, I quit.
Exactly.
I quit. And I think that's part of it. I think all three of us have the same
Let it go.
And we have fun. We still love it. No matter what it is, we love it and we keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one piece of advice for these kids today and anyone, right? It's the path is not clear. It's never clear.
No.
It's up and down and all around, and you're going to get great, wonderful things are going to happen and horrible failures are going to happen, but you have to get up and keep going. And never, ever, ever give up. It's so simple.
That is show business, what you just described. You have to like and enjoy that, or otherwise it's not for you.
No. And what gets you up is the joy. You get up and you're like, you know what? I love this though.
Yeah.
And you just keep going. So
yeah, so true.
I love that. Well, where can they find you? Tell me about your social media. Tell me what's going on. So Leo, you want to go first? Where can we find you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram. It's my whole name, spelled EVENS. A lot of people don't get that. You would, Kiesha, of course.
I got it.
But yeah, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Telly helped me create a Twitter account that I never use. He helped me back in the day. And I was like, I don't want to do this tweeting. I don't like tweet. It's never been my thing. But Instagram and Facebook.
Great. And Telly.
Yeah, and I have a website, tellyleung.com, so you can find me there. But I'm also at Telly Leung on Instagram and Twitter too. So find me there.
And we will definitely share this information for everyone. But I can't thank you enough. And Leo, I do have one piece of advice. Step away from the Cheez-Its. Step away.
I mean, talk about a bad. I mean, I still have to. If I see them in the aisle, I look at them a little bit longer. It's like it is an addiction. And then I was sharing my addiction with other people. Like for Telly's husband, Jimmy, who's also one of my close friends, I brought him Cheez-Its, and he looked at me like, "Is this a gift for you or for me?" And I was like, well, I like them. So, he looked at me like, why are you bringing these for me? You're the one who wants them. And I'm like, that's true.
That's true. Well, it's a snack for us all to share. Open the bag. Let's have it. Let's have a little chat. But it's fantastic.
Telly sent me a video one day that was, it was him and Jimmy. This was during the pandemic. And he said, hey, Leo, just want you to know there's a new one called Cheez-It Snapped. And it was SNAPD, right? Or a T, but he was like, put snapped. They were killing me. It was like a story that they sent to me. I'm like, guys, this isn't helping. I don't need more.
Well, following this on social media has been a great escape for me. So thank you.
You are well. I'm glad I provided that. Jimmy was actually always saying, are you tagging Cheez-Its? You have to tag them in Instagram. All right, I'll tag them.
Yeah, it's important. That's marketing. That's marketing promotions.
Yep.
I can't thank you both enough. You are a tremendous inspiration to all of us. Please take care of yourselves during these just, insane times. Be there for each other, like you said. And I just know that I'm always here for you. You know this. So take care.
We're here for you. We love
and
you.
then I love you so much. I just love you. And then as soon as I get back to the city, we'll get together.
Yes.
And I will see you soon. Okay?
Yes.
Love
All
you.
right.
Kiesha.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. You too.
All
Bye.
right, bye, guys.